Here we find ourselves at another rock pit. This one has a very nice view looking southwest. I believe Seattle's up over that way. Beyond that ridge over there, you can see that timber sale that we were looking for, the OL Bluffs, where we were before. Side Hill Salmon is back in the distance there. But this was a basalt rock pit here. As you can see, it's not a round rock pit. It's a hard, angular basalt. It's got quite a mix of different type of volcanic rock in here, and I'm no geologist, but I find this the red vein of volcanic in there very different to the gray, and there's even some green colored igneous rock mixed in. There's a vein of quartz over there, and it's just a really cool hodgepodge of, you know, volcanic activity that you could see here. That's some of the classic basalt that you can find in the Marckworth out here. So anyhow, I'd like to take a closer look at it and get to see some of the rock here. Now, they didn't shoot this pit. Pretty much we're able to grab some of this stuff and break it apart and use the material that was the right size for the job that we were having them do with surfacing or using it for ballast or whatnot. We call this kind of a rippable material here. If you get into that pit like at the 50-50 pit, you definitely need to drill and shoot that. But this stuff is so weathered because it's a different type of volcanic material that's, you know, maybe it was water influenced, and so it cooled at a different rate than the stuff that was over at the 50-50 pit, and so the cooling rate basically of lava kind of dictates what type of weathering it's going to have, you know, whether it's going to weather quickly. Usually if it's pillow basalts or things like that that have formed under the water or with water, they're going to weather quicker. Also, if you get, like, you know, obviously pumice or something like that, that can weather quickly as well, but it's, you know, it's lighter aerated rock. But this has probably some inclusions from either different, you know, types of mineral deposits that were in that rock at the time when, you know, this lava, you know, came to the surface, or, you know, was weather, or came to the, you know, somewhere underwater or something like that. Hard for me to tell. Again, I'm not a geologist, soil scientist, but, you know, geology is a big part of soil science. So this red stuff here, which you can see breaks off pretty easily. It's still pretty hard though. However, it rubs off on your hands really easily, almost like brick. And then it's mixed in with, you know, this other type of stuff here. We've got a lot of water in here, and then these areas where, you know, what's happening, these veins in this rock wall here that are moist from the water are experiencing, you know, chemical weathering along with physical weathering, and every little vein in here is just, you know, that water gets into is basically weathering and breaking apart. And if you can imagine again the physical weathering of the freeze and thaw type processes are in full effect here, because this rock is so much more fractured and definitely has a different chemical composition than the rock at the 50/50 pit. It's got this really cool green. I don't know if this is serpentine, potentially, this green colored rock there, which is a metamorphic or hemimetamorphic volcanic material that really has a certain chemical property to it that only certain plants will live in that. And this rock here feels lighter than it should. I break it open like that, and look, you can see the oxidization here that's happening. This iron oxides are basically, that's what's rubbing off on my hands here, and it's black or greenish black once I crack it open, but it's red on the outside because of those redox reactions. And then when you get something like these darker colors here, that's typically manganese minerals affecting that rock. And then I wanted to come over here and look at this vein of quartz here, and you can see this is super light, and this is quartz. It's got sandy material in here as well, and then on the surface here is like bumpy, but you've got these crystals here. These are the top of the crystals, and you've got this quartz and this layering of this material here, where you can see the kind of the plates. It's got kind of a platey structure to it, even though it is rock, but within each of those layers you're having a lot of freeze thaw and hydrolysis and physical mechanical weathering, along with some chemical weathering too. So this is a neat pit. Again, we were just able to rip this material and use what was needed to be used for the size of rock that we call for. A lot of times, if we can get a material that's around this size here, it'll work for roads inside the unit, whereas on our haul routes and main lines, we'd like to have material that's about 1.25 inches or so. And there's also this quartz just everywhere, kind of dispersed through the rock here. You can imagine it's probably in a lot of the cracks and crevices as you go back into this rock face here. Here's a pretty excellent example. Very cool bit of quartz on the edge. So I don't really know if we have a name for this pit. I'd call it the Red Rock Pit, in my opinion, but it definitely is picturesque and a beautiful pit. And over there we've got some trees and grass and everything trying to live on top there. And I can't imagine those trees are going to get too large before they blow over into the pit here. There's a raven flying through the valley there. This is a cool spot. The lighting's a little weird, but you can, I don't know if you can potentially see Seattle in the background there. I may have to try and focus a little bit more, but I can definitely see it from my vantage. And you can see the Olympics off to the right, and they go and go and go past this leaf tree group. They pop up even taller over there on that ridge. And again, that's kind of the ridge I was talking about before at the bluffs of our ownership of land, going this direction back toward that one side hill salmon timber sale cut I was telling you about, which you can't see from here. So down a little bit further, and now I'm looking north towards Monroe. This is a really cool spot.